Hey, Miss Marcy.
Hey, Marcy.
Well, hey,
Hey. Oh, she's in a meeting. Okay.
how's
Hey,
everyone
Marcy.
doing? Hey,
Good.
Marcy.
Good.
Doing good,
Hey,
guys. As y'all
Marcy.
can see, I'm kind of in the car. It's a lot of multitasking going on right now, so I'm kind of kicked out of my space. All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're already live, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Yeah, I'm so excited to have this conversation about this wonderful, wonderful topic called sugar, right? We
Right.
talk about it so much, and it plays such an integral part in everybody's diet because it's in everything, right? It's in everything. I know sometimes we think sugar is what did we add? Did we add any sugar to our food, or do we add sugar to whatever? But oftentimes we don't even have to add it. It's just there. It's in
Mhm.
everything. So we have to like really be vigilant and pay attention because um you know, I think we all know the risk of excess of having too much sugar, but I'm going to go over a lot of it. Obviously, we know it's weight gain, right? We know that it can cause insulin resistance or diabetes, in many people, in addition to like cavities, heart disease, mood swings. You be wondering why, like, 1 minute I'm good, the next minute I'm like ready to fight the world. It's because we're on those sugar highs and lows, right? So one thing we want to do is try to cut back as much as possible. And I know it's easy to say, oh, just cut it out. Some people say just cut it out altogether, but sometimes it's not that simple, right? Because again, like we already said, it's in everything. Things that you don't think have sugar, when you really start to read the labels, you'll see that it has sugar in it. Like something as simple as, let's say you want a spaghetti. And have you looked at the jars of the pasta sauce and seen like read the ingredients and how much sugar is in it? Like, yeah, so you I see you shaking your head, just yeah. So that's the point. Like, so we're thinking like, oh well, I don't buy the bag of sugar and I don't put it in anything, but we still don't realize how much sugar we're getting on a daily basis, right? So and what really causes a lot of it is because, like, once that drop, we're gonna have that spike, we're gonna have that drop, and we want to avoid that as much as possible. Also, we got to think about the addictive properties of sugar. We wonder why we can't give it up. It's because it really is addictive. It's really, when you look at the molecular structure of sugar, and I saw this in a book one time or a workshop that I was doing. When you look at the molecular sugar of molecular structure
You cutting out.
of sugar and then look at the molecular structure of cocaine now. Can you hear me better?
Yes. So after molecular
Okay.
of sugar, I
The
Like,
couldn't.
yeah, if you look
molecular
at the like,
structure of sugar.
structure of sugar and then look at the molecular structure of cocaine, they're very similar. There's just one little line that differentiates the two. So sugar is just as addictive as many of the narcotics that people use. So we wonder why we keep craving it and we keep coming back for more because it really is addictive. And people will be like, "Oh, I'm addicted to sugar," and they say it in like a joking way, but the reality is it's true. Many of us are addicted to sugar and we wonder why we can't stop, or when we stop or we try to stop, we're having cravings or we're having headaches or whatever it is. It's because we're literally going through withdrawals and we want more, we want more, right? So, a lot of times the solution to that, people think, oh well, I'll use Splendor, or I'll use Equal, or I use NutraSweet, and true because they're chemically based in their process. So we want to also kind of stay. I know, I know. And the funny thing is, and this is, and I will say, I will start by saying this is my personal opinion, right? Hey, Angela, this is my personal opinion. I would rather see
Hey,
you
Ange.
have regular sugar than to see you have on. Yeah,
Okay.
I would rather see people use regular or sucralose and things like that. You said okay. You got a
Wait.
question? or comment?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Sucralose, is that not, that's not Splenda? What is sucralose like what? Yeah.
Sucralose is the equivalent of Splenda, right? And it's an artificial sweetener. So basically, it's a chemical. So when we read, like, say, when we see those things that say zero sugar, but it's a sweet something. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. We were talking about, me and Aunt Marcy was talking about coffee creamers earlier this morning. So let's say you say, well, I'm not going to get the regular coffee creamer because it has sugar. Let me get the zero sugar coffee creamer. Okay, well, when you read it, it's going to say something like something. One of the ingredients is going to either be aspartame, sucralose. It's going to be something of that effect. And that just means they replace the regular sugar with a chemical, meaning an artificial sweetener. And many of the risks with that is they've been linked to metabolic issues, gut health issues. They also increase your cravings, and in some cases, they've been linked to cancer in animals. Now, some people will say, "Oh, but not in humans." But do we want to take that chance? Is what I would say. Do you want to take that chance? So what we want to look for is more natural ways to replace those sugars. And I want to go back to looking at your ingredients list, right? You want to pay attention not only to how many grams of sugar is in whatever product that you're eating, but you want to look at what kind of sugar is in there, right? So when you read the ingredients list, if sugar is one, I'm sorry, somebody has a TV, it's like really loud. I'm sorry. Yeah. Um, so when you read your ingredients list, for example, right? If sugar is like one of the first five ingredients, that means it's really high in sugar, right? And you want to pay attention to, okay, if it's when you look at the sugars, is it added sugar? Is it regular, and if you have added sugars in it, you want to, each serving of sugar, you want it to be under double digits. So if it's more than 10 grams of sugar, that's too much. Okay. And what we want to look for is maybe natural plant-based sweeteners, such as monk fruit, stevia. But even when you're looking at your monk fruits and stevias, make sure that they come from a natural source and they aren't like they'll be laced with an artificial sweetener. So you got to read the labels on those as well. So you want to stick with the honey, the agave too, because that's a high glycemic sweetener. Maple syrup is a good sweetener. I wouldn't necessarily put it in my coffee. So you got to you got to play with the flavors and see what works best for you. But monk fruit, allulose, stevia, honey, especially raw natural honey, maple syrup, those are and agave are great replacements for the sugar, regular sugar, and the artificial sweeteners. Anybody got questions yet?
I ran across pure cane sugar when I was in Tallahassee.
Mm-hmm. I would
It,
say that's better than the enriched white sugar. It's also better than artificial sweeteners, but at the end of the day, it's still sugar, so it's still going to give you that high and that spike and that low. So you're going to still get the high and the low, but it's better than the artificial sweeteners. It's better than the enriched white sugars, I would say. Everybody good? Any more questions?
Is that the
Sorry.
same when it comes to like raw sugar?
It's better than the artificial sweeteners, especially if it's sugar in the raw and it still has like, and you look at it and it does not say enriched or it doesn't have anything else like, because a lot of times the sugar in the raw, it still has like that brown tint to it, which means
It
they haven't
does.
processed it and it hasn't been enriched. So again, it's one of those things where you pick your poison, for lack of a better word. I hate to say it that way, but it is better than the enriched white sugars. It's better than the artificial sweetener. So I would choose that over, like, say, for example, I know a lot of times when we go out to places and they'll have the
Mhm.
little cup in there where you can get the different types of sugar. Like, if they
Mhm.
have that, I would choose that over some of the other ones.
I got you.
Yeah, yeah. So again, and then when we're talking about ingredients, right? Again, you have to read your ingredients, because when I tell you about sugar, because you're not adding sugar to anything, or you're not buying. And can we talk about the sugar drinks? Like, can we try not to overdo? If we can eliminate them, that's great, because we should be drinking our water anyway. But those drinks will really, really get us, because you got to think like one, let's say I don't know if they sell 20 ounce or six, what is it, 20 ounce sodas now, or 16 ounce sodas. Read the label. Guarantee you, you're looking at probably 30 to 40 grams of sugar in one bottle, right? Like, that's a lot of sugar. And if we're like really counting that, do we really want to consume that much at one time? And we think, oh, it's just one here or there, but it's a lot.
I gotta
Exactly, Angela. I say it all the time. That is my thing. I do not want to drink my calories. I want to, if I'm gonna be paying attention to calories and stuff like that, I want that from food. I do not want to drink my calories. I refuse. So, like, and there's ways that you can enjoy stuff. Like, for example, I'll give y'all a perfect example. Coffee is a non-negotiable for me. I enjoy my coffee in the morning, but I found a way to have it where I'm not consuming a lot of sugar. Once upon a time, y'all, I used to be like, go to Dunkin', let me get a medium hazelnut, light and sweet. Girl,
mhm.
they putting the hazelnut syrup in there. You already got sugar there. Then they putting the creamer in it. And then they're putting sugar in it, because I'm saying light and sweet. So when you say light and sweet, now they're going to throw some sugar in there on top of it. Now, if
Mhm.
I even try to sip something like that, my head would be throbbing because it's too sweet. So what I do now is I have a protein drink that I purchased that has it's sweetened with monk fruit. So in the place of the creamer, I pour that in my coffee. And then if I need a little bit of extra sweetness, I put monk fruit in it. I put a little bit more monk fruit. So now I'm getting the natural sweetener, and the monk fruit has 0 calories. So I'm not getting the calories there. So I found a way, like, if we are just willing to be open-minded and experiment a little bit, you can find ways to still enjoy the things that you like without and consuming all the sugar. Yes, it's gonna taste a little bit different, but it's the body armors. Now, what kind of sweetener? I've had those before. Tell me, what kind of sweetener in it?
Pure cane sugar.
Right.
Mm. So I have a question. I couldn't ask before because I was the one with the TV, so I had to relocate. My bad.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so here is my challenge.
Okay.
I drink at least 2 cups of coffee a day.
Okay.
I drink at least 3 cups of tea a day. So I drink that, plus I try to
Mm-hmm.
drink the water. But those things for me help me to not eat as much. Like I'm not like it's like if I had my meals, it's helping me to not snack in between those meals. But if you're telling me that sugar is one of the best, like I mean not the one of the best, but it's like an option. I'm trying to figure out how much of what is equivalent to being okay if each one of those cups I'm having something in it. Because I'm tea, I could probably some tea I could probably drink without a sweetener, but coffee I can't. And Carlissa, I tried. I can't even drink. It's something in these protein shakes, and I believe it's lectin that make me nauseous. So I
Okay.
can't put it in it. I thought it was before just putting it in like almond milk or but I tried almond, I tried coconut, I tried regular, I tried water. It makes me nauseous. Like I just even
Okay.
right now just thinking about it, I just want to
Okay. Gotcha.
so I can't even use protein shakes as my fall, as a fallback for, like helping with certain things. So I'm just trying to figure out so like the monk fruit, can you name a brand possibly? Because I may try, I'll consider trying it. Can you name, do you know of a brand off the top that that
I'll put
has
some
that?
in the chat. I'll put some in the chat for you. Now let me ask
Okay.
you this. In your coffee, have you just tried regular whipping cream?
I don't even purchase that.
Try that, because
But
that'll give
that's
you the.
milk. But that's milk.
Are you
No,
are
I'm
you
not a
lactose intolerant,
so
or do you cut out dairy?
in my mind I'm not, but my body tells me differently.
Okay.
If you know what
So
I'm
in other
saying.
words, you don't use. So in other words, you don't use dairy at all.
No, I do, I can get away with it in certain things. Like I could yogurt, it doesn't bother me, but when you're
Okay.
talking about like milk and creamers itself, that's like, oh, my body's like, mm-mm, not
So
today.
what do you normally eat? What do you normally have in your coffee?
So what I've been trying to do is I was doing stevia and I just got so discouraged because it tastes so flavorless, the coffee. I picked a good coffee. And so now I do the split. I went back to Splenda. So I do like two Splendas and I do some almond milk.
Okay.
And it's the unsweetened vanilla almond milk.
Okay. So the almond milk works, right?
But it still don't taste as good. Like
It's not going to taste the same, but can you are you enjoying your coffee with the almond milk minus like we're not talking sweetener yet. We're just talking about because to me coffee has two steps. The first step is, can I get it to the lightness that I like? Okay. And then can I get it to the sweetness that I like, right?
I can't get it
And
to the likeness. I can't get it to the light because I do like at a certain and it's dark and then it's like it lightens up a little, but it's like and then I don't want to buy the coffee creamers because the last time I bought like an alternative coffee creamer, it went bad and made me sick because I use so little. Even though
mhm.
it's like I just used so little because one, because it was sweet enough, and two, because I was watching sugar and things like that. So it's like I didn't need, but you buy that big old, it's big when you don't use a lot. It's not
So
big when you use a
what were
lot.
you using what were you using in your coffee before that?
I just regular coffee creamer. Like just like
Okay.
I would actually
So
I was not making it. Basically the issue was I was not making it at home. Now I'm realizing you need to just have your like I bought coffee, I need to drink it at home. So just drink what you have. But I'm trying
mhm.
to like and it's been like a good 2 months because I even tried one coffee from the other and I don't have a Keurig so or like a coffee pot. So I'm using like instant coffee. So that's already some work you got to do too.
Have you tried chicory?
What is that?
All right.
No,
So we'll probably talk a little bit more about this offline, because I was gonna say, because if you were using regular creamer before, you might be able to try the whipping cream, and then you add the monk fruit to it, because the cream will just make it lighter, and then the monk fruit would make it sweeter. But those are the things, and then you can also, here's the other alternative. What I would suggest really is
hmm
look up homemade coffee creamer recipes. A lot of them are super easy, only
Okay.
require maybe 3 to 5 ingredients. So if you can't find what you like in the store, you can also make your own. So
Okay.
on Pinterest, you can find a lot of that too. But yeah, that you're gonna have to play with it a little bit to see what to get it to your liking. Because again, it's not we've been so conditioned to flavors and things taste in a certain way because we've just been used to the bad. Like at the end of the day, we're just used to sugar, right? We're just used to
Hmm.
how it is. So we can't anticipate that when we start making these changes that it's going to taste exactly how it did before, because it's not. You're just going to have to play with different flavors. Add some cinnamon. I add cinnamon to my coffee every single morning. Just play with herbs, play with different stuff to get it to your liking. And we're going to have to, like, if we're going to make these changes, we just got to give up the idea that it's going to always taste the same. No different than if we're eating chicken. Uh, yeah, fried chicken is going to taste different than grilled chicken. Okay. So, but what do you want? You want results, or you just want to stay with the same thing? So you're going to have to play with that. Other thing I was going to touch on when you said tea and it curves your appetite. I would rather you eat a healthy meal than to drink that much sugar in one day. I would rather you have add a healthy meal than to drink that. Because when you're talking about 2 cups of sugar, I mean, 2 cups of coffee with sugar, and then 3 cups of tea with sugar, that's a lot of sugar in one day. So I'm not going to say go completely cold turkey, but I would rather you have a healthy meal, at some point during an extra, if you got to have, I don't know how many meals a day you're eating, but let's say you're eating 2 strong, healthy meals a day. If you got to have a third healthy meal just to keep your appetite in check, I'd rather you have that than to drink 3 cups of tea with sugar in it on a daily basis, because that's a lot of sugar. That would be my suggestion. I did want to come back to Angela in the body armor. You said it had pure cane sugar in it?
Yes.
Okay, I think we talked about that before you got on, and that's one of the things I was saying. When we're talking about sugar, this is where we got to pick our poison. Yes, in an ideal world, we'll all give up all sugar, cold turkey, and never have another bit of sugar again. But at least what I was saying to them is that I would rather you have that than to have the artificial sweeteners. And I know with body armor, some of them, depending on I think it's different type of them have, like the one you have that has the pure cane sugar. I'm just me personally, I am not for the artificial sweeteners, only because I try to eliminate as much processed stuff as possible and stick with as much natural stuff as possible. I lost somebody. Oh, I'm Marcy. As much as possible. So yeah, just with the body armors, pay attention, because some of them, I think it's some in
Some
a
of them
white,
say no.
with a white label. Say it
Yeah, they
again.
say no zero sugar, and I tried
Yeah.
one of those. It was so nasty. I took it back to the store. They're buy one get
Yeah.
one free at Publix, by the way. Some of them have
hmm
like 20 calories. Some of them have 90 calories, but they have
hmm
pure cane sugar.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying too. When you read the labels, look at like what kind of sweetener it is. Look at it. If it's regular sugar, is it one of the first 5 ingredients? If it is, that means it has way too much sugar in it. So you want to pay attention to those. And again, like I said, also reading just everything from pasta sauces to anything that you can pick up. Oh, another one you got to pay attention to is if it says corn syrup or high fructose corn syrup. If it says fructose, glucose, what's another one? I got a list here. Some of, like I said, aspartame, sucralose. Well, those are the artificial ones. But anything with toast, like fructose or whatever at the end of it, it's a sugar. Okay. So pay attention to those things when you're reading the labels, because they found a way to just sneak it into everything that we eat. And I'll tell y'all, we got a little bit of time. I'll tell y'all a quick little story. When I got pregnant with my daughter, I was considered high risk because I had my son prematurely. And the first thing the doctor said to me was, I need you to not gain 1 pound while you are pregnant with this baby. He was like, I need you to go the whole 9 months and not gain a pound. And I'm like, I don't know how you expect me to do that when I'm growing a whole human being in my body. Like, how am I gonna grow a human and not gain weight? And he said, I need you to cut out all your sugar. Like, just cut sugar, don't add sugar. He was like, that was the first time I had somebody say, pay attention to pasta sauces, pay attention to all the labels. And when I really looked at that, I was like, oh, wow, it really is sugar and everything. And I'll be honest, for the first 6 months, I did really, really good. I cut out all the sugar, and I literally did not gain 1 pound the first 6 months of my pregnancy with my daughter. After that, I'll be honest, I started like veering off a little bit. But over the course of the entire pregnancy, I only gained 12 pounds because I cut out sugar, drank a lot of water, because that is really what is really getting most of us. A lot of times we're struggling to lose the weight, or we're gaining the weight because we're consuming so much sugar. This is why also the rise in type 2 diabetes is so strong. And ladies, I'm doing a workshop. We'll talk about this in a little bit. I'm doing a workshop this weekend about sugar, diabetes, and everything like that. Okay, but we'll talk about that in a second. But we're seeing now a huge rise in children and teenagers being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. If you look back maybe 30 years ago, or even probably less than that, it was very uncommon for children to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. If they got diagnosed with diabetes, most of the time it was type 1, hence why type 1 used to be called, because type 1 is where you have your pancreas just doesn't work properly. So usually they discover that early on in children. So type 1 used to be called juvenile onset diabetes. Now we're getting kids that are diagnosed with diabetes, so type 2, not type 1, type 2, because they're eating so much sugar. And a lot of us, I don't know how old everybody is on this panel, but years ago, we didn't have sugar in everything. And plus, we went outside and we ran and we played. We were active, right? Now the kids are less active because they're playing video games or watching TV or whatever they do in the house. And then everything that they consume has so much sugar in it. So at this point, it's like beyond epidemic proportions where not only are adults being diagnosed at rapid rates, but now our children are being diagnosed at rapid rates. So we really, really, really have to get a handle on the sugar part. Like everything is important, our proteins, our everything else, but we really, really, really have to get on with the get on it with the sugar, especially if we have kids, or even like I said, I'm diabetic, so it's something that I pay close attention to. It's not just for myself, but for my household and everybody in my family. So that's something that we really, really have to pay attention to as far as the sugar. Anybody else have a question or something they want to add?
Okay, the thing I want to add is I talked to you earlier about this creamer.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at my ingredients list on that. Guess what the first ingredient on this 2 grams of sugar creamer is?
What's
Yes,
that?
sugar.
Right.
That's the first ingredients. And
Right.
it's a teaspoon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't want me to use creamer, just say that. Because a teaspoon of creamer, that ain't going to tell my
Mm-hmm.
coffee
Oh, so
nothing.
your serving size is a teaspoon, so it's not even 2 teaspoons.
It's
So
not even
yeah,
2, it's 1 teaspoon.
yeah.
That's
So
why
now and it
they done broke it down so much that it's like 2 grams of sugar. And I'm thinking, oh, this is really good. No, sugar is the first ingredient and is 1 teaspoon for a
right, and
serving.
that's and what she's saying is a serving size for her is of that type of creamer is 1 teaspoon. And what we were talking about earlier is looking at the serving size. What's the likelihood that you're only putting 1 teaspoon of creamer in your coffee? And we're using coffee again as an example, right? But this could be anything. You got to look at, okay, well, if it says a gram or in this case, 2 grams of sugar per serving, how much is one serving, right? So if one serving is only 1 teaspoon, and I promise you, me personally, 1 teaspoon of creamer is not enough for my coffee. So that's where
It ain't
we
enough
talked
for
a
mine
few
either.
weeks back about the important. Right, that's where I talked about a few weeks back about the importance of measuring also, because you got to know how much you're consuming. Because even though it might say 2 grams of sugar, but what's the serving size? Is the serving size, a teaspoon? Is it 2 teaspoons? And what are you actually using? Are you using more like a half a cup? and and then you got to think,
Yes.
well, how many teaspoons are in a half a cup? So then you're about, before you know it, even though the label says 2 grams of sugar, you're up to 10, 15 grams of sugar in that 1 cup, because what you're using to get the results that you want or the taste or flavor that you want, you're using far beyond that serving size. That's why, again, it's important to read the labels, understand your serving sizes, as well as like understanding like how much am I, and doing the measurements so you know how much you're actually using. I think earlier I also used an example because a lot of times children eat cereal. Okay, most boxes of cereal, if you pay attention to a serving size, it's not even a cup. A lot of times it's 3/4 of a cup is a serving size. Sometimes you'll get a box that might say 1 cup as a serving size, but who is really sitting down eating and measuring out and just eating 3/4 of a cup of cereal? By the time they make their bowl of cereal, they probably have 2 cups, maybe 2.5 cups of cereal in the bowl. So how many grams of sugar is that really? That's probably more like, I don't know, depending on the type of cereal, God forbid it's like one of those ones where it's like, Lucky Charms, Fruit Loops are the ones that's nothing but sugar. So when we really look at how much we're consuming on a daily basis, it's getting to the point where it's dangerous, right? That's why we really, really have to pay attention to what are we consuming, how much sugar is in it, and what's the serving size? Like, is it even worth buying it? I don't even know the last time I bought cereal, because once I really start, like, you got to get serious, and not just for me. Because I used to buy it and be like, oh, well, the kids are eating it. They're slim, they're in shape, they're healthy, they're fine. But is it okay? It's not okay, because at some point they're going to be adults buying their own groceries and making choices for themselves. So I got to start those habits in them now. And if I make it okay for them to just have whatever, then they're not learning the habits, even though I'm teaching the habits. How crazy is that, right?
Right.
So, like, yeah, when you really pay attention to the labels and measuring, and we'll go over that stuff even more, but that is where it's really important. Like, not only just reading the labels, like, are you really are you really having a serving size? Like, even if you're drinking, like, for example, Angela, on your body what's a serving? Is it like a whole bottle, or is it half the bottle?
Um, this is a large, like a really big
Oh, the
bottle.
really big one,
It's
right?
Yeah, this is 28 full ounces. And so a
Hmm.
serving size is 12 ounces, and that's 90 calories.
Okay. So that's actually not too bad. How many grams of sugar per serving?
Okay, let's not talk about that. Okay. Um, it's actually after we talked and I saw that the second ingredient first is water and then pure cane
Hmm.
sugar and then
Okay.
coconut water. So,
Okay.
okay, to answer your question, it's 21 grams.
Okay. So now that is a lot. But let's say you say, well, I'm going to literally measure out 6 ounces. I'm only going to have 6 ounces a day, right?
12
Could
ounces.
you just, I know that's one serving. Let's say you tell yourself, I'm going to have a half of a serving. I'm only going to have 6 ounces, which most of us probably wouldn't, right? But let's say I'm gonna have a half of a serving. I'm only gonna drink, I'm gonna measure it out in my little measuring cup, and I'm only gonna have 6 ounces. Somebody else could justify saying, well, that's only 10 and a half ounces, grams of sugar, but that's a lot. Like, when you're thinking about where else you might be getting sugar over the course of the day. Plus, whenever we're reading the label and we're consuming something, we want to keep the grams of sugar under 10 grams, right? Or double digits, I guess we should say. We want to keep it under double digits. So that's just something to pay attention to. Another way, if you want to consume it, pour a little bit in a cup and add some water to it.
Water.
Water it down. Yeah, since you have it, since you already have it, that might be an option.
Well, and
So,
I
but
look
yeah,
at
so,
it, I look at it and I'm like, I could drink a soda or I could drink this, you know?
right.
And so it's like I'm trying to switch out,
Right.
make better choices. And they were giving these out at church, and when on
Hmm.
Sundays when they have service, they had got this
Hmm.
big old pallet of them. And so that's
Hmm.
how I started drinking these.
Hmm. Yeah, I think
And
the
so
biggest thing is, like, yeah, the biggest thing is not, we're a work in progress, right? So while yes, I think I said this earlier, in a perfect world, we would cut out all the bad stuff right away, or we would have never ever started it, right? So me personally, I don't have the expectation that everybody's gonna go cold turkey on everything. But let's say you have that bottle and that bottle lasts you a whole week because you just take a sip here or there. Am I gonna be like, bad girl Angela? Absolutely not. Like, just gradually, the biggest thing is we should be consuming water, 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 water all the time. The more water, the better, because that's going to also help us flush them kidneys out and flush a lot of that stuff out. So if you're drinking water most of the day and you're getting that half of your body weight plus, or on, especially on our Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you're getting that gallon in and you say, I'm just going to take that sip of my body armor, then knock yourself out. I'm not going to be like, bad girl, because I understand we all are work in progress. We're all going to have moments where we eat the cookie, right? And it's fine.
Right.
We're going to eat the cake too sometimes, but we got to make sure that that's not a regular occurrence, especially when it comes to the sugar. Hannah, I see your hand up. You got a question or comment?
Yeah, a comment. For me, I do like in 2 cups of coffee, I would say basically like 2 tablespoons of
Mm-hmm.
sugar. I started to cut off soda when I started to do my
Mm-hmm.
juicing, and and using my upper water, and
Mm-hmm.
that for me, that's the amount of sugar I take in. But then in my smoothie, I don't add sugar in my smoothie. I do natural sugar, but
Mm-hmm.
I still think I take in a lot of sugar, even
Mm-hmm.
if it's not like consuming by soda or by sugar itself, but that's why I look at my stomach because I'm losing weight other places except my stomach. So I start working out now
Mm-hmm.
in my stomach area to see how that will turn out because most of the issues I'm struggling with right now is indigestion. I get a lot of reflex, and in the past when I went to my doctor, he said, for your acid reflex to reduce or to cut out, you have to lose the stomach weight and don't eat past 6 o'clock. Don't eat anything
Mm-hmm.
heavy past 6 o'clock. Go to bed with your stomach pretty much on the empty side, because that by then most of what you ate has already digested, and it worked. But when
Mm-hmm.
I after I lost my son, then I started regaining myself. I was just like scrubbing on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I am with the sugar intake. I drink water, but I'm trying to drink a little more than I normally do. I have the 16 ounce with the different stages of water I supposed to drink a day. I
Mm-hmm.
drink that, but
Mm-hmm.
then I'm trying to drink a little more, which I believe that would possibly help me. So yeah, that's just all I have to say. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. And that was one of the things that we were talking about, how sugar, they sneak it into everything. So I'm pretty sure most of us are consuming more sugar than we think that we are, because it literally is in everything. So that's where we're talking about the reading of the labels and paying attention to the ingredients list and seeing what it is that even I keep using pasta sauce as an example because I love pasta, right?
We
So
put pasta sauce.
yeah,
You
and
can
so even with that,
buy the tomato and blend
hmm
it, and then put it
right,
in a bottle, let it overnight in the refrigerator, and then the
hmm
tomato sauce will surface up, and then all you do is drain the water in the bottle, and then here
hmm
goes your tomato sauce. Um,
right,
seasoning in
exactly.
the
And so,
store, the seasoning in the store, I kind of laid back a lot on it because I started reading the labels.
right,
So when I would go, like sometimes I would go to the food bank or I would go to the store when they have sale, and I would buy the onions and stuff in bulk. And or if I get it in the food bank and I would dry it. I plant my celery and stuff, but when I don't have it, I buy it in a certain amount in the store, and I would dry at least half of it. And then I would
hmm
gather some ingredients, and then I would get my food processor and I would blend off my seasoning, and that's what I use. I would add clove, um, dried garlic, celery, onion, um, bell peppers, and I would make that combination. You can use it on fish, you can use it on chicken, you can pretty much use it on everything that you cook. So that helps a lot, especially the garlic and the clove. It helps with your blood pressure and your
hmm
sugar. So these two things in there, besides the onion, it's very vital. And I saw a great change in my body when I started making my own seasoning.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
we were talking about the making of the coffee, because then we can control the ingredients the better. So, and then the other thing I would say, sometimes if you look when you're looking for the quick fix, like, okay, I can't make everything from scratch. Again, that's when you want to read the labels. And I noticed that certain things in the store, if it has simply on the label, that's like, I'm gonna use again pasta. Just a pasta sauce is just an easy example for me, because I start paying attention to little things. But it's also like certain snacks that my kids will have or whatever. When they put it simply on the label, a lot of times it's because they've removed some of the sugar and they've removed some of the other bad artificial ingredients, certain pasta sauces, right? They'll have the regular brand, but that same brand will have the same version of it, but it'll just say simply on the label. So
Mhm.
when you turn it over, like I'm gonna use Ragu, I'm not sponsored or nothing or anything, but Ragu as an example, right? They'll have Ragu pasta sauce and it'll have like the different flavors, different kinds or whatever, but then they'll have simply Ragu. And when you turn it over and read the labels, it's because the simply Ragu, they took out the sugar and they took out some of the other ingredients and made it just as basic as possible. So if you are the type that, okay, I can't make everything from scratch, start reading the labels and look for the labels that say simply. Even with the coffee creamers, look for the ones that say simply or natural. And a lot of times it's because they've taken out of a lot of the processed stuff and they're just using basic ingredients because they know that there are a group of people like us who are tired of the over processed foods, right? And we're looking for simple basics without always having to make everything from scratch. So even with that, and then if you need to add a sweetener, that's when you go for your natural sweeteners like the monk fruit, the stevia, the allulose, or the honeys or the maple syrups or whatever, especially if you're cooking stuff and you just need to add a sweetener to it. If you're, if it says simply, but you're like, okay, I need this to be a little bit sweeter, now you add your monk fruit to it or your allulose or your, stevia.
What's the other name for allulose? Because it sounds like I heard of that before.
I only know it as allulose.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
allulose. You can get a lot of these, depending on I don't know where everybody lives. A lot of these things I'll be honest, I haven't seen allulose in the grocery store.
Hmm.
Stevia and monk fruit you can get in a grocery store, but in most grocery stores, I guess.
And wait,
Stevia obviously is, but even with stevia, you want to be careful of some of the brands. Just pay attention, like say for example, like Truvia or something like that. Just read the label and make sure that it is a pure stevia and not a stevia that's been packaged with something else. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, just be careful with those. But stevia, monk fruit, you can typically get in the grocery stores. I think allulose I've only seen on like Amazon. Um, and then obviously honey and all that maple syrup, you can get that in a grocery store too. But try to go for like the raw versions of like the honey or the maple syrup if you're going to use those as like, I know some people put it in their teas or some people put it in, but just use it sparingly, especially if you are insulin resistant or if you're diabetic. And speaking of which, ladies, this Saturday at 11, from 11 to 12, I'm gonna do a diabetic workshop. So whether you have diabetes or not, whether you know somebody with diabetes, just plug in. I'm going to give some really great tips because I feel like there's a lot of people out here who are going through that or have gone through it. And sometimes you just feel like, I don't know the next steps. What should I be doing? And sometimes the doctors are like, oh, well, just do this. And it's not that simple, right? So I'm doing a workshop on diabetes. I myself was able to like lower my diabetes, my A1C from, I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but from like a 13 all the way down to a 6.5 in a matter of 6 months by making certain changes and adjustments. So I'm going to do a workshop this weekend on Saturday from 11 to 12. It won't be on this Zoom link. It'll be on my own personal Zoom link, but I'll put it in the chat for everybody if you want to attend. And that way we can talk a little bit. I'll probably touch on sugar a little bit, but this will be more of a diabetes one-on-one workshop because that's something that's super dear to my heart, not only because I am diabetic, but I have a lot of family members who have suffered from it. So that's one of my topics. And I even have an ebook. I don't know if I shared any of that with you ladies. I have an ebook that I wrote on tips on how to lower your A1C. I'll have another book coming out in the fall that's more personal, my journey, and with tips and stuff like that. So stay tuned for all of that. But this weekend, I will put it in our group chat, the link for the workshop that I'm doing this Saturday. All right. And if no one has it, I saw you just unmuted, Jess. But if you have a question, feel free. And if not, we're going to go ahead and log off.
I was just gonna say that's awesome and that's encouraging and motivating. And now I see too what you mean by when you were talking about making sure to get the labs to see the changes and different things and stuff like that. So now I see why that's so important and maybe not
Mhm.
that's important in general because I still need to know where I am on that level.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
was listed at one time pre-diabetic and the doctor's office never
Okay.
told me. And then I went to a different doctor's office and they're like, "Oh, you're pre-diabetic." Like, no, didn't even tell me I was pre-diabetic. I'm glad I'm not with that medical group anymore, but I'm just saying like that's something that yeah, yeah.
You are who I do this for because I remember being a young 20, 21, 22-year old and a doctor telling me that I was pre-diabetic. And that was all he told me. And what I heard was, well, I'm not diabetic. I don't have it. So, okay, whatever. What does that mean? I'm gonna just keep doing what I've been doing, right? So if I'd have known better and I had somebody to hold my hand and walk me through it, then maybe I would have made better choices even that early on, and I wouldn't have turned from pre-diabetic to diabetic. So that's why I do what I do, and that is why I'm starting with this workshop. I got books coming out because I want to reach not just the people who are already diabetic. I want to reach the people who are pre-diabetic and let you know it does not have to turn into diabetes. And for those who do have diabetes, we can get back to a normal A1C. We just got to be willing to do the work and make some changes because, yes, there is medication, and yes, we should take it if we need it. But there are other ways that we can actually get that number down. And it starts with what we put in our mouth and how we move our body. So, yes, Jess, I need you on this workshop. If let me know, I'll definitely get you the information and
Please.
I'll
Please
even
send
send you.
it. Yeah, you
Yes.
send it, but it's gonna be like, whoa, because I'm also going down to Amateur Works. So then it's
Hmm.
like I'm gonna probably have to like connect via Zoom while driving home
Okay.
type of situation.
Okay.
But I'm more than willing to do that. And when you send it, if you send it soon, I can get it out to other people because I actually have a friend that's on Manjaro and
Hmm.
she's much older than I am, and I'm trying to encourage and motivate her. Like I told her we gonna go walking tomorrow, like, cause she been talking about she want to
Hmm.
walk. I said we'll do. I basically told her to do like what we do at noon, but I'm like doing it on
Hmm.
her time on WhatsApp or I said we have two ways to connect, and we could video and talk, and we gonna walk it out. So
Yes.
that would be awesome if you could give that to me because that can help her too because she's on it. She's been on it for a minute. She has not been losing that much.
They
So
probably have her on a
yeah.
low dose, but there are ways that she can get that. Because honestly, yes, I was on medication, but that's not. I've been on medication prior to that. There was. I'm gonna give you my real key, but I want you on the workshop still. It's a strength training. It really is. And I'll break that down why it's about the strength training. So I know you was like, I feel like going to the gym today and doing the weights. Do the weights, okay? Do the weights. I promise
This
you.
I'm honest and complain, but I've still been holding myself accountable and doing it. I just feel that once
Yeah.
I've done it, once I say, oh man, I gotta do it, and then I do it, then I'm like, I got my weights done. Like, I'm like, hey, I did this and
Hmm.
that. Like, even though I say it with whatever, it's like, so
Yeah.
no,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I just don't want to be like, no offense, but I don't want to be like the people on 600 pound life once they lost the weight, then they got all that saggy skin and they gotta get the way my health insurance is set up, ooh, baby. I don't know if we're gonna be able to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? We could do the regular surgery. We're not gonna be able to do the skin
Hmm.
surgery. I don't even want to have surgery. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay. So
yeah,
I'm gonna be
but
okay, Carlissa. You got me. I'm gonna
I'll
be there.
I'll really break that down on Saturday. But yes, do the weights.
Okay.
But okay,
Okay.
lady. So I have held you long enough. If y'all have
Yes.
questions, you already know you can reach out to me anytime.
Okay.
Just let me know. And then I'll at some point either tonight or tomorrow, I'll put the link for my workshop in the chat and just make
Okay.
sure everybody has that information. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Y'all have a good night,
All
ladies.
right.
Good
All right.
night.
All
Have a
right,
good
everybody have a
night.
great evening.
You
Thank
too.
you. Thank you
Bye
for
Y'all
bye.
joining
be
me.
blessed.
All
You
right.
too.